Hi there everyone. Welcome to Fingers, Fums and Fits. And in this episode of TTPITL I shall be painting the other half of the Kill Team starter set. The foul heretic SRTs known as the Plague Marines. Can I keep the paint inside the lines? Let's find out. Now, before we start, I would like to point out that this is my first time ever painting Plague Marines. I've never even painted regular Death Guard before, so it's going to be as sloppy as Nurgle's favorite Bilepiper. Also, I might have missed one or two photos, and for that I apologize. Anyways, I will be using this Plague Marine champion as an example, and as with the Intercessor, I will be painting him in sections to make it easier. And to begin with, I gave him a spray coat of Death Guard green. I'm going to start off with the easiest section to paint, which is his cloak. And this got a coat of Sigvald burgundy. Shyish purple was painted into the recesses. And Carroburg crimson was applied all over. I then painted the metallics. Firstly, the chains got a coat of lead belcher, and the bronze adornments were painted with Screaming Bell. These were then washed with Nuln oil and Guilliman flesh respectively. And were then highlighted with Stormhost silver and Balthasar gold. Now we can leave the cloak alone, and focus on the Plague Marine champion. I painted the trim of his armor with Screaming Bell. I then painted his chest cavity with Pink Horror, before painting his teeth and horns with Ushab T-Bone. All the other metallics then got a coat of lead belcher, while his tabard was painted with Sigvald burgundy to match the cloak. The model then got a liberal wash of Agrax Earthshade, to really make it look dirty and grimy. Before I relayered the Death Guard green, avoiding the recesses of the armor. This, however, looked too clean, so I washed the armor with Seraphim Sepia, to make it look a little dirty again. Whilst that was drying, I painted the face on his shoulder pad, using Xandri Dust, a wash of Seraphim Sepia, and a highlight of Rakarth Flesh. Now that the wash was dry, I applied an edge highlight on the metallics using Stormhost Silver. Now let's turn our attention to the Plague Sword. Starting with a coat of Mournfang Brown, and a fairly heavy dry brush of lead belcher. This was then washed with Plaguebearer Flesh. And whilst that was drying, I painted his plasma pistol with lead belcher too. It was at this late stage that I realized I hadn't highlighted the armor, so I added a few edge highlights of Auric Flesh. And added Rattling Grime to that now filthy plasma pistol. The sword then got an edge highlight of Stormhost Silver. Before I attempted an experimental step. Firstly, I added Typhus Corrosion to the pock marks on the sword, as well as the bottom section of the blade, in a stippling manner. I then dry brushed the sword with Riser Rust. Back to the pistol, I dry brushed this with lead belcher, before highlighting with Stormhost Silver. And then applied Frostheart to the plasma coils. I then started to paint the base, but realized I hadn't painted his face. So, I gave that a coat of Rakarth Flesh. Which I then washed with Plaguebearer Flesh, a decision I would later come to regret. In hindsight, I should have just painted his face in a similar fashion to his shoulder pad, but here we are. Anyway, I then based and reassembled the model. And I think we can call this one done. And using most of this method, I painted the rest of the Kill Team in a similar fashion. Now, these guys are a lot more fiddly than the Imperial Space Marines, but were an interesting project, and I found out a few interesting things about painting from these guys too. So, what do we think? Did I manage to keep the paint inside the lines? Please do let me know in the comments below. And as always, thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you for the next one. So until then, take care, and I'll see you later.